In today's video, we're going to delve into languages.
Specifically, we'll look at using secret languages in D&D.
I'm Nerdarchy Ted.
I'm Nerdarchy Dave. Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds.
Now let's start to reveal some secrets.
All right, so I know of like 3 secret languages right off the bat in the game, except for I don't think one of them exists anymore.
So we know that there's the Druidic language. We know that there's Thieves Cant, and there are other things that existed in previous editions. The Drow sign language in earlier editions. I even believe that there were like alignment languages that like only were bestowed to you
Yeah.
if you were that alignment. They were really weird. Was something that we never really touched on.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like a way for people to communicate with each other, even if they didn't speak the same common language or common dialect. So you had your alignment languages come. It was a little bizarre up until, third edition. I don't remember about fourth edition. Dark Elves and Drow had an unspoken language of sign. It's in all the lore for Forgotten Realms and the books and everything. But I can't find it anywhere in 5e. I didn't see it under the monster entries. I didn't see it in the player's handbook. I don't know if I'm just missing anything or if they just took it out and they don't have it anymore. But like, even I know in our own games, it's been role played as, having, being a part of the game. I mean, Nerdarchy has even created our own secret language called Beardic, right? And you can find that in our Beardomancer product over on the Nerdarchy store. And basically, Beardic, Beardic, the secret language of beardomancy, through the use of complex knots, braids, and pleating, you turn your beard into a document capable of conveying a message equivalent to 1 page of handwritten information. You and others who know Beardic automatically spot such message. Others spot the message's presence with a successful DC 15 wisdom perception check, but can't decipher it without magic. So, you might guess that we kind of dig the idea of secret languages in our own games. So if you're interested in seeing what that's all about, we'll put a link down in the description.
All right, so we're going to get into the individual class features and kind of talk about what these features exactly are, and then we'll kind of dive into them even further. All right, so we know the rogue gets access to Thieves Cant, right at first level. During your rogue training, you learn Thieves Cant, a secret mix of dialect, jargon, and code that allows you to hide messages in seemingly normal conversation. Only another creature that knows Thieves Cant understands such messages. It takes 4 times longer to convey such a message than it does to speak the same idea plainly. In addition, you understand a set of secret signals and symbols used to convey short, simple messages, such as whether the area is dangerous or the territory of a thieves guild, whether loot is nearby, or whether the people in an area are easily marks or will provide a safe house for thieves on the run.
I don't feel like other thieves are going to be telling thieves where there's loot, but that's just me. There's also Druidic. Druidic, the secret language of druids. You can speak the language and use it to leave hidden messages. You and others who know the language automatically spot such messages. Others spot the message's presence with a successful DC 15 wisdom perception check, but can't decipher it without magic.
We're already seeing some interesting concepts and things unfold there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how much do the secret languages come up in your game? Have you created your own secret languages to incorporate throughout your campaigns, or is it kind of like a non-issue for you? Let us know in the comments below and share with the rest of the Nerdarchy community.
YouTube has a secret language as well, and if you want to learn to speak it, and make Nerdarchy or help support Nerdarchy, do those things that YouTube will respond to, such as liking, sharing, subscribing, even attuning to that notification bell.
Yeah, and as a quick reminder, Nerdarchy drops new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so come on back to the channel and see what's new.
All right. So when we begin to look at these secret languages, whether you're talking about, Druidic, Thieves Cant, Beardic, or even the Drow sign language, if you're doing these, like they all offer an interesting element of role playing, an interesting element of figuring things out. typically if somebody is speaking Druidic, that means that they have some levels of Druid, because Druids are not too thrilled about teaching that to non-Druids. I actually don't know of a single character that I've either played or played with who has gotten Druidic without being a Druid. And believe me, I know some have tried. Um, but when it comes, to Thieves Cant, that might be a little bit, more open to interpretation. Some might say, oh, well, if I took the urchin background, am I able to pick this up? Am I able to, do this, do that? So it's a way to kind of mix and add some fun things in.
Technically, you can pay to learn a language or, a tool proficiency or whatever. So the idea that you might be able to find an unscrupulous rogue to teach you Thieves Cant does not seem so far-fetched. Druids might be a little bit more principled. It's a way of life and their religion. So even like the bad apples amongst them may not be willing to reveal the secrets. But I feel like Thieves Cant probably isn't too far of a stretch. I mean, definitely as the DM, if you want to learn Thieves Cant in my game, I'll let you. But it's gonna lead to some role playing situations and maybe like even the rogue making you do things and using it as leverage to get you to do things that they want you to do. Um, but I definitely wouldn't rule it out. And obviously, players can do what players want to do. So a druid in the party could technically teach another non-druid if they felt they were worthy. And the rogue can do the same thing with their Thieves Cant for sure. If you're using Drow sign, there's no reason why you couldn't have the drow teach that language to another player character, or even if you only have a little bit of the drow sign language you guys use when you're in a dungeon to communicate silently to each other, not the full-blown language, but like whatever your thing is for stop or come here or whatever, whatever it is in drow. And you could also lead to some funny moments too, right? Like the drow teaches you all these hand signals that are supposed to mean stuff, and it does for the party when you're in the dungeon. But what you come to learn later on, and you can kind of do the same thing with Thieves Cant if you wanted to, is that all they did was teach you all the dirty words in that language. Because let's face it, when you learn a new language, like that seems to be what you learn first is the curse words.
That certainly, does seem to hold up against, scrutiny. But in our own games, like when I look at the concept of looking at these languages and these aspects, it says that if you're going to try and communicate a message through Thieves Cant, you're having a seemingly normal conversation. So like you might ask somebody, oh, how's the bread at Evanwin's, and you start going into these jargon and slang and what have you, and if the person doesn't understand Cant, a lot of times, DMs, will just kind of convey this, but like you might have this reputation, walking around town, if you're trying to find somebody who knows, Cant to gather information about the local guild, that you could just be an absolute loon walking up to strangers, talking about stupid things that don't make sense, and babbling on for minutes at a time, to try and convey a simple message or question. So I think that could be a lot of fun that's often, lost on a lot of particular groups of, what somebody who is trying to cant against someone who is not able to understand.
So we've had it come up in our games some, like when so I'm playing a rogue currently in your game, and one of the things I do is when I go to a new place, I try and scope out the place where there's Thieves Guild activities, and I've done this several times now. And I look for Thieves Cant in signage and symbols and markings, so I can like, okay, where are the seedy bars and taverns that we can go to try and get information and learn things. And then I've kind of used it to approach NPCs. And Ted's a really good GM, and he's kind of gone with that and like has incorporated that information in the checks that I would make to either investigate or find decipher information about the city I'm in, whether it's a history check or investigate check, perception checks. And then from there, you'd be like, oh yeah, you see the mark. This is a hideout for the Thieves Guild, or this is a place where thieves come to freely sell and trade information, which just adds to the richness of the campaign you're in. And also, it's just like kind of a ribbon ability of the character class, but it makes it feel a little bit more special.
And all of these things are kind of things that are prompted by a player. You know, Dave is fantastic regardless of which side of the screen that he's sitting on. So when he's a player, he asks questions. He understands what his character has mechanically. He has investiture in the game, and he asks those kind of questions. So, like, if you were a druid, when you walk out and into nature, you could be looking for signs. Simple things. Leaf patterns, animal activity. Anything that could be in nature that would normally be fine, but it could wind up, there could be a conveyance, a message there. And so if you are playing a druid and you want to use your druidic, you're going to ask those kind of questions. You're going to pry, and you're going to go. And eventually, if you've got a good GM and they're going to see you're asking these questions, oh, this is something my player wants to see incorporated in the game, I'm going to go in and do it. I might not immediately be thinking about, when I make a city, oh, what's the Thieves Guild activity like? How big, how small, what kind of things are they doing? But when a player comes to me and says, hey, here's the information I'm looking for, here's the way I'm going to go about doing it, oh, that's investiture. That's something that this player is looking for. Well, I'm going to make sure it's incorporated. I'm going to make sure it's there so that rewards those player choices, that helps out the game by enriching it, making it seem more alive, more real, and the player feels better because I looked for something and lo and behold, I found it.
Yeah, oftentimes when we play the game, right, there are certain things that a GM might want to add in to really kind of connect things and make it more immersive for their players, but it's really hard because you don't always know, like, what all their tool proficiencies are, their gaming proficiencies, their flaws, their ideals, their personalities, like all that stuff, right? There's a lot of stuff to track. But if they're a druid, or they're a rogue, that they have these languages. Like that's a really easy chunk of information. That's a small detail that doesn't get used a lot, that you can throw back in the game. If they're in a city, you could start thinking about, what? I have a rogue in this campaign, so maybe I should throw Thieves Cant around a little bit, just as an extra detail, just to call out to that specific player. Or, you got a druid in the game and you're like, you guys are, traveling through the forest, and Jen, your character spots an odd formation in the bark of a particular tree. It seems to be natural, but there's no mistaking the fact that the pattern of the bark spells out a word in Druidic, and it's this word, Yeah, and with these things, you can like say all that out loud and then slip the player a note at the table, or DM them or private message them if you're using, an online apparatus or whatever. And then all the rest of the players all of a sudden are like, oh, what does Jen know that we don't know? And it makes that like ribbon ability a little bit more special. It could be, a lead into the next adventure. It could just be a small detail in the game. Are you using a beardomancer in your game? Well, someone walks into the room and they've got this luxurious, amazing beard, and they see, the braiding and pleating in it, and there's a message in it, and maybe it's just like help or something, right? And you're like, oh, a fellow beardomancer needs help. What's going on? But for whatever reason, they can't verbalize it to you. So now you've like seeded a mystery in your game for them to try and figure out. So there's a lot of ways we can take these like ribbon abilities and make them immersive elements in our game.
When you take these things, they've got the ability to expand upon your main quest, to offer subplots, or character driven plots that you're looking to expand your game and have fun and reward player choice, not only in selecting that particular class, but acknowledging those abilities and then acting upon the clue that's thrust upon them.
Absolutely. Hey, do you want another video all about D&D languages? Then check out D&D languages. Let's talk languages in 5e D&D.
If you're looking to help Nerdarchy out, you could always head over to Patreon and become one of our patrons.
As a thank you, you'll receive monthly 5e content for players and DMs alike, a chance to game with us, and more.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.